it's Mary with Big on Books. Today I'm going to talk about Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I initially read this book because of the Netflix series coming out sometime soon. I don't know when. They better get moving on it. However, the fact is, I don't like this book. My current dilemma right now is, do I continue on with the series or do I go on to Six of Crows? Because I know the Six of Crows duology has spoilers for Shadow and Bone, but Shadow and Bone is 356 pages, and it took me 150 or so pages to get into this book. This book, I think, needed to be DNF'd. Like, I'm glad I pushed through because the ending was better than the beginning. I'm just gonna say that. I gave it 3 stars, and that's generous. Like, it probably should have been like 2.5, maybe even 2, because it took me 3 months to read this book, and I was so excited to read this. But like, it just got so boring. The last 40 pages I just kept putting off because I was just like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm just like extremely bored. Um, but basically, we're following this girl named Alina Starkov who finds out she's Grisha, which is the not wizards, but the special people in the world who can do things like who can create clothes and like make their faces prettier and like she has this special power that nobody else has. So, like, it's all about her. It's all about her getting immersed into that world while being pulled out of her old one, not knowing what happened to her best friend Mal, who has been there since she can remember. They were orphans. They grew up in the same orphanage. They've always been together, and then she's been pulled into the world of the Grisha. And so the whole entire backstory is extremely boring. I'm just gonna put it that way. I found it extremely boring. The only interesting parts we got were like during Grisha. Like, and then like when we get to Grisha, it's all like, okay, glitz and glam, and here's what's happening and stuff, and that's great. I love that. But then we get back to regular, boring, like backstory again, and I'm just like, okay, seriously, like, I got bored. If there was like no Darkling or no like sign of a Grisha in sight that wasn't Alina, like I was bored with the story. Um she she and Mal, the friendship is like rocky once she turns Grisha. Like, he doesn't really want to talk to her, or you never really see them. You can't see them communicate really because it's from Alina's point of view. Like, she tries to send him letters. He doesn't receive those letters, or he's not responding. It turns into a romance. And usually I root for the friends to lovers romance. And I was fully expecting to root for this romance. I cannot stand the character of Mal. Like, absolutely cannot stand him. He is one of the most annoying male protagonists I have ever read. And I have read Edward Cullen. I have read many a male protagonist, but I have never read a male protagonist or a secondary protagonist that is not bland, but just like stupid. Like, it almost makes me think that these two are like perfect together because One is just like blind to how the other one feels about them, and then like the other one is just like blind to like everything around her. Like nothing can be done. Or like she has to stay in that person has to stay in that place. Like they're both kind of dull. They're not very interesting characters. Yes, this world is seems like really fun to kind of like be in, but it's not really that great. If it takes 150 pages for me to get interested and the book is only 350 something pages, like this probably isn't the book for me. This probably isn't the series for me. But it left off on such a it leaves you on such a not a cliffhanger, but in such a way you're just like wanting the second book. But since I was so bored with the first one, I was just like, do I read the second one? And I've heard, and this isn't a series that like I've definitely heard like you like that gets rave reviews all the time. I've definitely heard it gets worse as it goes along, or like I DNF the first book, it was so boring. Like I've heard things like that. So I was but it was after I had picked up the book. People were like raving about this series. And then once I picked up the book, I started hearing all these like, yeah, I DNF'd it. It wasn't that great. Like this series just doesn't get better. Um and I was just like, what have I gotten myself into? Is this going to be another Maximum Ride series kind of situations? But I didn't really like the book enough to like feel like it was one of the Maximum Ride situations, because Maximum Ride, yeah, the first three books are great, and then it just kind of teetered off like the rest of the books are crap. This one, the first book is crap. Or the first book, in my opinion, isn't that great. It's boring. We don't really have likable protagonists. I don't know. Maybe the Netflix series will do better. Maybe that'll bore me. I don't know. The main reason I chose it was to watch the Netflix series. And I love Ben Barnes, who is going to be a Netflix series. Yeah, this book, I just did not, it was not that good. I'm just going to say that. It was boring me to tears. I put off the last 40 pages like for maybe a month because I was just so bored with the book. It got to the point where I was just so desperate that in between breaks at work, I would just like read this book. Yeah. Probably would not recommend this to anybody. Like, I'm just gonna be that honest. Like, if my best friend who loves books came up and asked, "Hey, did you like that Shadow and Bone series?" I didn't get through I barely got through the first book. Like, I almost did not finish the first book. And I want to know everybody else's opinions. Like, if you liked the second and third book of the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which is the second book is Siege and Storm and the third book is Ruin and Rising, do you think that I should continue on with this series, or do you think I should go with what I originally wanted to do, was just read Six of Crows? I'm sorry, Crooked Kingdom is the second book, but do you think I should just read Six of Crows? Because what I really wanted to do was I wanted to read Six of Crows. I wanted to get into the Grishaverse, but I wanted to read Six of Crows. And people were saying, okay, but read Shadow and Bone first, because if you end up reading Six of Crows first and then you want to read the Shadow and Bone trilogy afterwards, you're going to get spoiled if you read Six of Crows first. Okay, well, at this point, I don't really care if I get spoiled. Like, I mean, Six of Crows has more protagonists. I think it has it has six. It has more protagonists. Protagonists are probably more interesting. um and honestly, I've heard the writing is, I don't want to say I've heard it's better. I've heard it's different, that the two series are almost like they're by different authors. Um so I just kind of want to read Six of Crows just to see like if that's the case. But also because like, come on, like you can't like expect me to just kind of push through Shadow and Bone when I wanted to read Six of Crows first and then not expect me to pick up Six of Crows. But um Shadow and Bone, wouldn't recommend. Probably, I originally said what, 3 stars? I'm probably going to move it down to 2 because it did take me 150 pages and I did end up somewhat liking it, but I wasn't that sold on it originally to begin with. And I'm not entirely sold on it now. If anybody wants to give their opinions on if I should finish the book series or not, go ahead down below in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Bye.